Welcome to the Prophecy Club. Our topic today is I had an important dream. It's basically talking about our vision to find oil in Israel. Now, I know a lot of you have already heard me talk about this a lot. And so if you've already heard it, then skip towards the end to get the new stuff. If you haven't heard this, then it would be very important for you to watch it. Okay, so the first question is, how did God call me to even be in the oil business? Well, I was raised out in West Texas. I was raised with a pump jack. Literally, I could throw a rock from my front door and come pretty close to hitting the pump jack. I was raised in the oil patch, but I wanted nothing to do with the oil patch. So I had to get into the oil business, okay? So here's the story. In 1982, a part-time pastor, full-time oil man by the name of Hayseed Stevens out of Willow Park, Texas, was invited by a group of other oil men to go to Israel and to meet then Prime Minister Menachem Begin. While he was there, he said the Lord spoke to his heart and said the world's largest oil field is located at the southwest end of the Dead Sea. He said, Lord, if that's true, it's got to be the Bible. So he came back and he searched and found 17 scriptures in the Bible that say in the last days massive amounts of oil will be found in Israel. As a result of that, I believe it was 1994, he started an oil company, began to gather the funds to drill the well in Israel, but the funds weren't coming in so good. In 1998, our ministry, the Prophecy Club, put him on a 10-city speaking tour. We used to be on 80 radio stations and about 30 TV stations. We put him on a 10-city speaking tour, which blew financial life into his vision to get the money and go drill the well in Israel. But in 2003, he fell dead of a heart attack. His son took over the company, but it didn't go so good. Then in 2007, his former attorney called me and asked if I would be willing to start a new oil corporation to continue the vision to find oil in Israel. My exact response was, thanks, but no thanks. I got plenty to do. My plate's full. I'll pray about it, but probably not. So my get me out of that prayer that night was, Lord, as you know, I don't have an extra $5,000 laying around to give that attorney to start some oil corporation. So if you want me to do this, send the money. End of story. I thought I was out of it. The next day, the office called, says, lady called you and want to talk to you about oil in Israel. I said, why do people keep calling me? I have anything to do with oil in Israel. Well, she's been a faithful $50 a month partaker now for over 10 years. I think I ought to call her. Well, I was going to call her, but of course now I'm a little obligated. So I called her. Thank you for calling. The reason I asked you to call is because 2 nights ago, God woke me up in the middle of the night, told me to send you $30,000 to continue the vision to find oil in Israel. My exact response was, well, fine. She said, what? So I explained it to her. She sent the check, and January the 2 of 2008, we started Prophetic Oil Company. I was the president and CEO. And as a result of that, I set up an 18-city speaking tour from Beaumont, Texas, all the way up into Minneapolis. And June the 27th of 2008, I spoke in Amarillo that night. And before I went to bed that night, I prayed, as I do every night, from prayer closet. And I said, Lord, I hope you're pleased with what we're doing here because it's not going so good. Not many people showing up, not many people getting saved, not many people interested in investing in oil in Israel. And then I'd heard words. I mean, they were audible words just like you're hearing right now. Woke me up. They said, Stan, I will give you the money to drill the well in Israel. Well, I answered back audibly, and I said, the oil well in Israel? But there was no more response. It's like, son, I said all I'm going to say. Now, as a little aside, the rest of that night he talked to me. But the only thing I can remember the rest of that night was he showed me a picture, or many pictures, of Leslie standing in front of, my wife Leslie, standing in front of our fireplace here in this home, holding up newspaper articles with the newspaper headlines that she got from from April 15th of 2002. Now, I won't get into that today. That's not our topic. Okay, so now, we started the Prophetic Oil Company, and Again, it wasn't going so good. But I've continued to offer stock up until about probably, I don't know, 8 or 10 years ago. And I saw that Christians didn't have the $50 million I was going to need to go drill a well in Israel. But again, God had told me He's going to give me the money. So this is all I will say about that. Up until that point, I had nothing to do. Well, I had nothing to do with these get rich quick schemes that from time to time come along. But after that, I thought, yeah, maybe I should start listening. Well, sure enough, a couple of months after that, God arranged to get me and my wife in on a very, 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 very biggest deal with which will easily provide the money to drill the well in Israel and sports stadiums and everything else. But I can't talk about it, and the door's closed, so I can't explain it to you. And I'm on a non-disclosure agreement, and I've given them permission to monitor my cell phone and my emails, and I assure you they are. So no, I can't talk about it. All right, now on to the next point. So this was the dream, June 27th, 2008. And if you want to, you can pause and read all the details, but I've kind of already told you about it. All right, now let's jump to the next thing. So this is October 26, 2001. It's not exactly in the chronological order. But my wife Leslie had a dream, and what she was shown is extremely important. See, the thing that every oil company wants to know is where to drill and how deep to drill. This tells us where to drill. Now, this is 2001. At this time, I had no idea I was even going to be in the oil business. And tell you the truth, I wondered why God even showed this to my wife. But nevertheless, it does turn out to be important. So the dream was Mary Jean Stevens, which was Hayseed's wife. Joe Dollins and I were taking Mary Jean, his wife, back home. When we got to our house, Mary Jean said, Hayseed is home. Why don't you go in and say hi to him? We think that that's talking about Hayseed died and went home to be with the Lord in 2003. Hayseed was lying down on the couch watching TV. He was exhausted. He hadn't been home from Israel very long, and he gave us a big hug, and I noticed the remote control was on the couch beside him. He said to me, God is about to bless you guys abundantly. I think that is from oil. Again, Hayseed is the guy that God originally spoke to about oil in Israel. God is about to bless you guys abundantly, and I mean soon. On the drive back home, I noticed that we had his remote control. So we went back to give to Hayseed, and he said, oh, thank you. I would really be lost if I didn't have my remote. This lets me know where I am. Now, today, I think I understand that remote is talking about someone else that's going to be finding oil. The scene shifted to a map of Israel. I saw a massive flow coming from the foot of, and I'm not going to tell you exact locations, but we know them. There was a massive flow of oil from the classified, another area I'm not going to say, to the southwest end and wrapping around to the southeast end of the blah, da, 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 da. I asked the Lord what this meant. He said, the oil come flowing from the to the southwest and around to the southeast of the, again, I'm not releasing that information, but it tells us where the river of oil flows in Israel. Why would he tell us that? Because in about 7 years, he's going to have to start an oil company to go look for it. Now, on to the next one. Now, if you look at this, looking at Stan and Leslie, then you won't get the point. But if you look at this and say, this is further confirmation that God is going to bless us like this one says he's going to, then you'll understand that has to do with oil in Israel. In my dream, what happened was, I woke up out of this dream, and I woke up because Leslie, my wife, was patting me on the leg, saying, wake up, wake up. I just had a dream. I said, I had a dream too. Let me tell you mine. She says, no, let me tell you mine first. So she told me hers first. This was my dream. In my dream, I was in a car going around a mountain pass on a two-lane blacktop road, which bent to the right. There were no cars in sight from either direction, so I began to gradually push the pedal down further and further, going faster and faster, until the car began to just slide off the lane. There were no other oncoming cars, so I didn't hit anything, and I kept pushing the pedal down. Eventually, it slid completely off the road onto the gravel shoulder, and then it was just like steel balls, and all of a sudden I was floating down, just straight down, like I had several parachutes on the car. Only then the car changed to a lazy boy easy chair, and I was in this lazy boy easy chair, and it came down and landed on the top of a real tall building that had a Olympic-sized swimming pool on top of this high-rise office building, what it was. And then as I landed, there was hayseed. I mean, I remember it right now. There was hayseed, and he said, "Howdy, partner. It's about time you got here." Now, I think it's saying two things. I think it's saying that God is about to give us a lot of money, but it's also saying that hayseed, which was the guy that God first called to find oil in Israel, he's going to give us this money through oil. On to the next one. So this was Leslie's dream. We had both these dreams at the same time for the confirmation. In the mouth of two or three witnesses, let a thing be established. Stan and many of our staff ministers from Prophecy Club and Spirit of Prophecy Church were gathered together in this huge house. The house was a personal house that had many stories to it. It was massive. Our children decided to play a game. We're going to see who could reach the top of the stairs the fastest and slide down the waterfall, which went from the roof of the house all the way down to the ground. It was inside the house. So the house had an inside waterfall that they were sliding down. As we were racing to the top, Bentley was jumping over the railing, and I thought for a moment I would too, but then thinking, no, I might fall. I'm not as young as I used to be. When reaching the top, I asked if they knew if anyone could clean the basement for me. A name and a phone number was given to me. After calling the lady, she came right over. The woman cleaned the basement so well, I told her I'd hire her because of the housekeeper we had right now did not have time to finish cleaning both floors. I asked the new housekeeper if she knew someone else to help with the yard work. She gave me his name also, meaning we just moved into a new house. The waterfall was beautiful and massive. It flowed from the top of our home to the bottom, and the water entered into a pool we had. Now, further confirmation, 2003. So this was back in 2001. Now, 2003. An oil man friend of mine, an intercessor from our congregation, and myself were in a sport utility vehicle. I remember this just like I had it last night. We were driving around in the desert area I believe to be Israel, looking for another place to drill another oil well, meaning we'd already hit it once. I was driving with a huge stake in my lap, which represents the finances. The stake was the biggest stake I'd ever seen. It was about 4 inches thick, 12 inches across. I had a steak knife and my right-hand fork in my left. As we were driving, I would reach down, cut off a piece of steak. In other words, I had plenty of money to do what we wanted to do. That's the whole point of it. The intercessor had her hands on our back, praying for us. And now we have about 1,500 people that fast and pray for our ministry every week, every Tuesday evening, from midnight to 4 o'clock on Tuesday until Wednesday afternoon. Now let's go on to 2006. So this is 2003, 2006. Now, at this time, I had, when Hayseed was alive, I had invested into his company. But at this time in 2006, he had died, and his son took over the company, and it was a mess. It wasn't going well at all, and I was pretty frustrated with it. So I told the Lord that afternoon. I said, "Look, I'm done with this oil stuff." So I thought I'll just sell my stock and get out of it. Just wash my hands. I'm done with all this oil stuff. But I prayed, and I said, "Lord, if you want me to stay involved with this oil stuff, here's what I'd like for you to do. Give me a dream tonight. I have never been to an oil platform, still to this day. I've never been to an oil rig. I've never been on an oil platform." And I said, "So if you want me to stay with this, show me what it's like to be at a rig when oil comes in." Now, you can pause and read it, but I will tell you what happened, because I remember it. Even though it was 2006, I remember it like I had it last night. So I was on this platform, where they have the round table, and then the pipe sticking up, and then another pipe comes down, and they screw it together. I mean, I've seen videos of it. And they were working on this. About this time, from right there, I heard a person holler, There she blows. Remember, like, Moby Dick, the movie I saw when I was a kid. And about that time, the ground started shaking like this. And then there was this high pitch, really high, and really, I mean, it covered my ears. And this air started coming out of this pipe right in front of me. And I'm watching this, ears covered. And then finally went, and it just stopped. And then oil started shooting up, and it was color of brown sugar, and it was squirting up like 4 or 5 feet into the air. I mean, it wasn't a big gusher like Spindletop, like the pictures you see behind me. It was, 4 to 6 feet tall, something like that. So what it's saying is, Stan, stay involved with oil in Israel. Now let's go to the next one. Again in 2006, I woke up out of this dream, and I saw two people get on a jet. Now, the jet was about that long, but it was, probably held 150 people, something like that. And there was a little ladder there, and there was a line of people going up, walking up and getting on the stairs and going up and getting into the airplane. And I heard an audible voice speak and say, two men will get on a plane with a virus. Before the plane can land, everyone on board will be dead. This will be the beginning of the end of public air transportation. Well, I'm waking up. I was still groggy. I mean, so it didn't make any sense to me. So I said, what? And the voice rebuked me. Said, you weren't listening. And I thought, yeah, that's what my wife says all the time, too. And it repeated. Two men will get on a plane with a virus. Before the plane can land, everyone on board will be dead. This will be the beginning of the end of public air transportation. Now, it took me a lot of years to figure out why I was being told that. And I think the reason is because God has laid on my heart, according to Ezekiel 38:8, I believe it is, where they're talking about the land of unwalled villages. He's laid on my heart that when the money comes in to buy an airline, I didn't say an airplane, I said an airline, to fly Christians and Jews from around the world to Israel to build a land of unwalled villages so that they can escape the tyranny, the persecution, getting their head lopped off during the time of Great Tribulation. And the airline, this information is to let me know when that time I should buy an airline is. Obviously, when it's the time when airlines stop being used, you can probably pick up an entire airline, employees, lock, stock, barrel, everything, for pennies on the dollar. And then I can put it to work flying Christians and Jews to Israel to save their life. So that ties in too. All right, now let's go on to the next one. I did not ask for this one, but this ties together with the whole point of this program. 2012, you can read it if you want to, but I can remember it, so I'll just tell you. So, again, I was raised in West Texas, and there were times where I went and played on pump jacks. I mean, not the ones that worked, but I remember we were at one, that's what it was. It was a pump jack foundation, big chunk of concrete, about 4 foot high, 4 foot across, about 10 to 12 foot wide, where the pump jack rested on that big hunk of concrete. Well, in the dream, I jumped up on this and I pointed down into the earth and I said, there's oil coming out of there. And about that time, there was a deep shaking like this. And all of a sudden, about 8 to 12 wells in the distance all shot up into the air, probably 20, 25 feet, and then fell back silent. But one of the wells, that when it shot up, all of a sudden, the oil coming out of that well did like a 90-degree turn. It just went up and hit me right. I was wearing a white shirt, hit my shirt. Meaning, some of the oil will be for me personally, and then not for me personally. Won't need any of the oil, any money from the oil. I'll have plenty of money before then. But it is for me to help buy the airline, fly people to Israel, and things like that. Now, this brings me up to the new dream that I just had. that you can pause. I just told you all about it. You can read all of that. It's the same thing I just told you. No, it doesn't bring me. Let me cover a couple more things. Okay, so we'd invited Maurice Sklar, a prophet, Jewish guy, plays a violin, wonderful, in to speak at the Prophecy Club. We went out to eat at a restaurant, and all of a sudden he said, Lord, here? And he says, the Lord has a word for you. Right here as we're eating. So I pulled out my cell phone. I said, say on, brother. So I recorded it. This is part of what he said. He says, I'm also going to give you the oil, the petroleum, the gas that I promised. And by the way, he had no idea that we were in the oil business, had anything to do with oil in Israel. He was just a guest speaker at the time. And he says, this is what I will do. Money will no longer be an issue. I see you in Israel, even east of Jordan, it's towards Saudi Arabia. There's oil there. I see you also getting back and forth from America to Israel. Wow, I'm getting this vision. You're going to be helping 144,000. You're going to be helping the communication and the provision. You're going to be a financer. Well, that's confirming what I'm saying. Building the land of unwalled villages. Now, before I go further, let me give you a disclaimer. I'm not doing this to offering stock. Matter of fact, we're not offering stock at all, and I'm not totally convinced we ever will. Like one of my board members called the other day. He says, Stan, he said, we won't need to offer any stock. I said, I know. I said, but I've got some people that love Israel, and they want to help. They want to be a part of it. It's not about making money. They just want to be part of helping Israel. So let me give you a disclaimer. I cannot guarantee we're ever going to get money drilled for or hit oil in Israel. Now, with that in mind, a couple more things. 2017, Pastor Massey called, and he said, the Lord spoke to me last night. And who's Pastor Massey? Well, he started over 300 churches in Pakistan. He's kind of the Billy Graham for Pakistan. He's led over 30,000 Muslims to Jesus in Pakistan. He has a miracles ministry. Anyway, he says, the Lord spoke to me last night. He says, war in Israel will soon come. This is 2017. Of course, he was correct. Israel knows it has more oil than Saudi Arabia, but it has not been able to drill it yet. But this news has been that has just been released to the public. It's not been released to the public yet. The Lord is going to give the wealth of the wicked of Saudi Arabia to Israel. Oil is located at the southwest end of the Dead Sea. He had not heard of Hayseed Stevens either. God is going to punish the Arabs for their crimes against Israel and the Christians, and he is going to cause the oil to flow underground to Israel. He didn't know of our vision to find oil in Israel. He did not know the Hayseed Stevens believed that once the Israel started pumping from the southwest end of the Dead Sea, it would begin to dry the wells of the Muslim nations surrounded. And there's the verse down there that proves it. Now, finally, here's the new dream. So let me back up and tell you what's going on. Okay, so I got an email. I don't have the paper here handy. Yeah, I do too. Anyway, I got an email. Here it is. This is I printed out the email. Another church was inviting pastors to come to the church to find out about the newest speaker systems. Being we're about to start up crusades again, I thought, well, it'd be a good idea for me to bone up on that. Went to this beautiful church, and it got to me. It got to me because I started thinking, you know what? Feeling sorry for myself. I don't think I've done a very good job for you, Lord. I mean, we don't have a big fancy building like this. We don't have 4,000 people coming on Sunday morning. And I came home, and my wife Leslie said something, and I snapped at her, and I said, honey, I'm sorry. I said, I'm battling this. I don't get down very often. I said, but I feel like I failed. Start to get emotional here. I feel like I failed the Lord. And I'm just battling it, like right now, okay? I'm battling it. And not that night, but the next night, this was what the Lord said. So when I woke up, the red digital clock on the ceiling just flipped from 12 to 12:01, which I think was saying something. It's saying something that it just now happened, that the season just changed, okay? The dream opened up, and I was at a drilling rig. Again, I've never been to a drilling rig, but there was a drilling platform about the size of a king-size bed. And it had so much pressure under it, it was rising up, kind of like a Jiffy Pop popcorn thing. It was rising up like that. And a guy standing right there said, "It's about to explode, let's run." And I didn't put my hands on it. I just held my hands like this, and I said, "Lord, reduce the pressure. Don't let it explode in Jesus' name." And all of a sudden, that Jiffy popcorn, it started going back down to level again. And I woke up. That's when I saw 12 to 12:01, and I heard, and it says, "I'm giving you power and authority to control crude oil. When you command it to come forth, it will, or to return, it will." Now, that fits with me going to the pump jack, pointing down into the earth, and say there's oil coming out of there. I know that's a big part of what God has called me to be. Now, the reason I say this is because if God is going to give me $50 million to drill the well in Israel, he's going to give me everything else I need, the oil rigs, all of the people, put it all together. This is all his plan. I'd have never had anything to do with this. But someplace in here, he's also going to give me the money to win thousands upon thousands of souls. The sports stadiums and a lot of souls coming to Jesus is all part of his plan. Hello, I'm Stan.
And I'm Leslie Johnson.
And we want to invite you to the PhD, the Prophecy, Healing, and Deliverance Conference.
So I hope you'll come from September the 11th through the 14th.
We have 6 seasoned ministers, 10 sessions, 2.5 days. I'm going to be speaking on Mark of the Beast, dangers of AI, and the new timing of the rapture.
And I'm going to speak on how to get ahead spiritually, close those spiritual doors, and the role of the prophet.
Lou and Sunhee Deliverance Ministries are going to be speaking on healing childhood experiences, what is eating at you, spirit of infirmity, and yes, they will be doing deliverances.
Yes. And then Pastor Kate and Jonathan will be speaking on relationships.
It's limited to 100 registrations, so go to prophecyclub.com, get signed up, or
traintheprophets.com. We hope to see you there.
If you don't want to lose your life's savings, if you have an IRA or a 401k, the thing to do is call 800-200-GOLD. 800-200-GOLD. These folks are Christians, and they specialize in helping people not lose their life savings in the event of a stock market crash and things like that. Look, most of the 401ks, most of the IRAs are in paper, backed by paper, and as Lindsey Williams says, if it's in paper, it's worth the paper it's written on. You can lose it all. 1-800-200-GOLD. 800-200-GOLD. Hey, give them a call. Doesn't hurt, doesn't cost you anything. See if they can give you some good advice.